What's up, everybody? This is the Champaign Room Live. It is Wednesday, June 17th. June is already halfway done. Crazy to believe. I'm Illini Isaac. This is Robby Nardini of the Champaign Room, and we are going to be doing another draft, a draft of the most painful Brad Underwood losses. So, Robby, thanks for joining today.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for having me on again, Isaac. I have a feeling people are going to like this one. The most painful Brad Underwood losses should spark some good debate and fill the time. You can see the World Cup on the back right here. So hopefully you guys have been watching soccer, but I'm excited for this draft we're doing.
Yeah, I would say this past week was probably like each week gets drier and drier with Illinois news, especially, and college basketball news. Now, we did have summer workouts. So, real quick, I'll hit our sponsor, Brian Hansen, State Farm Agent. Awesome, huge Illini fan. We're super proud to be partnering with State Farm Agent Brian Hansen, dedicated Illini fan, and he works to bring you coverage. He works to bring Illinois fans coverage for home, auto, business, life, all the things. And Brian brings energy and commitment to serving his clients, just like he does to the Fighting Illini, as he is also an Illinois fan. Visit brianismyguy.com today to see why so many Illini fans trust Brian Hansen for their home, auto, business, life, and insurance needs. Again, brianismyguy.com. Brian's an awesome guy. Known him for years through various ventures. So, yeah, guys are on campus. Summer workouts have gotten started. Tell us a little bit about, you were a part of the managers back in the day. So kind of what's the process like, and any observations from just some photos and stuff we've seen?
Yeah, it's always great seeing those photos on Twitter and other social media outlets. The guys are on campus, which is great. It looks like everyone's there. The past couple of years, we've had some Europeans where you were a little bit nervous if they were going to show up or not. So it's nice to have everyone on campus, and just nice to kind of get college basketball a little bit back. And I know the guys are taking some classes and everything. I did stay this summer there for 2 summers. Lived in the gym those 2 summers. Guys came in to shoot on their own. It's pretty casual, summer workouts, a lot of 5-on-5 pickup, a lot of shooting drills. Not too crazy, but you got the guys in the gym, build that chemistry off the court right away. And it's nice to have everyone together, like I said, right away, instead of having guys come in July and August like we've had the past couple seasons.
Yeah, and we've had some unfortunate news, not directly in the Illinois program, but a recent departure who seemed to leave mutually with great things to say on both sides. Huge part of the team, Ty Rogers, unfortunately. So, Robby, what happened with Ty at his new location, Boise State?
Yeah, super sad. Another knee injury for Ty. I don't think they've said exactly what it was yet. Could be wrong there, but it's just super sad. I know he chose the redshirt his first year, so that's why he sat out for one of those years. But he did get injured last year, fought his way to be healthy, and looked like he went to Boise State in the summer and was able to play. Those recoveries just suck. So, having a knee injury, whether it's, ACL, meniscus, whatever it is, it's not easy to come back, and it's not easy to play after 2 seasons of not playing college basketball. He was such a big part of the 2024 Elite Eight team, being a starter, and it's kind of just went downhill since then. I do feel bad for him. It's going to be tough to recover from another knee injury. Hopefully it's not too bad where you can come back and play basketball again. But, 2 injuries back to back and not playing for 3 seasons makes it really tough for him. And it's just really, really sad. He's going to have to go through another year or who knows how long, just recovery and try to get healthy again.
Yeah, super unfortunate. And especially, you never like to see injuries, but a guy like that, has been really fighting to come back from it. I think the last note really is, I've seen you've been tweeting out some schedule news, potential basketball dates locked down. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, definitely a schedule nerd for some reason. I just love scheduling, whether it's the NFL, NBA, especially Illinois basketball, though. I like to prematurely plan what games I'm going to 7 months in advance. So I like to get the news right away. Bragging rights game has been confirmed for December 20th in St. Louis, and go to that every single year Excited for hopefully another Illinois win. A little preview to maybe our most painful losses. We got a couple Mizzou losses out there, which is never great. But excited for that game. And looks like we're opening up the season with Fairleigh Dickinson on November 2nd. That is, I guess, the second day of college basketball. Villanova and Notre Dame are playing in Rome on November 1st on a Sunday. But everyone else is starting up on Monday. So Illinois will play Fairleigh Dickinson. And then Thursday, Fran McCaffrey's coming to town. I don't know why he wants to play Illinois again when Brad pretty much owns him in every single game recently, but it is a rematch to last year's round of 64 game versus Pennsylvania on Thursday in the State Farm Center. Pennsylvania, I think, will open that Thursday. Someone on the Penn side, writer for them, mentioned that on Twitter, quote tweeted my tweet. So I haven't confirmed that, but he said that Penn will start the season the same way they ended last season against Illinois. And then November 20th, I believe that's a Friday night, playing against my parents' alma mater, Eastern Illinois, at the State Farm Center. And everyone knows the other confirmed games, Texas Tech, Duke, and UConn. But those three home bye games, got some dates there. And then bragging rights confirmed for a Sunday this year. Hoping it's an afternoon. Don't want another noon game. It's a little bit tougher to get going at patios in the morning when you got to start at 8 or 9 a.m. I'm hoping for more of a 3 p.m. game. But I do think it'll be a little bit better than a Tuesday night since they have played that game on December 22nd the past few seasons. Excited for that one. And, yeah, I'm itching for some more schedule news. I'm hoping we get some more big-time matchups and some cool destinations we can go to.
Yeah, and speaking of Eastern Illinois, thinking about everybody in Central Illinois, there's some crazy storms going on, so stay safe. Hopefully, if you're tuning into this right now, you're in a safe spot away from windows or wherever you're supposed to be. So yeah, there was a couple football things, recruiting updates. I know Brett Bielema landed a couple guys, and then last Friday, I want to say Bielema was on Pardon My Take, and some quotes and stuff came out of that. So football, I imagine, is going to start picking up. But
what's your favorite Bielema from PMT? I didn't listen to the whole thing. I'm not a huge PMT guy, to be honest with you, but I did hear that Luke Altmaier turned down $2.5 million. Is that what's said on PMT?
Yeah, so that's what Bielema said, and honestly, that's the thing I love about Bielema is he's super honest, and he's never lying or blowing smoke up your butt. And he basically was just like, an SEC school came in and offered, nearly $2.5 million more than we were going to pay our guy. And then we ended up beating him in a bowl game or something like that. So he was just straightforward with it. And a lot, I saw more Tennessee people posting about it than any Tennessee blogs and things. And I know Tennessee football is like a pro sport down there. Like they take it super seriously, but that was probably the biggest. And then Bielema just had a good story about growing up and growing up on a farm and how that taught him hard work and stuff like that. So super cool. I mean, it's literally like statistically the number one sports podcast on the world, and Bielema's been on it. Bielema's been on it twice in the last 12 months or so. So that's always pretty cool. Let's get into it. I'm sure people are tuning in for this. So again, Brad Underwood, most painful losses draft. However you want to take that. Pain could be the season is now over. Pain could be the way you lost. Pain could be what the loss meant to the program. And we are taking out Loyola because Robby and I were discussing whoever got Loyola with the first overall pick was kind of going to win. Similar to in Brad Underwood's best wins draft, the win to get to the Final Four was probably the best. Now this Loyola loss is more of an outlier than the Final Four win to get to the Final Four, I think. But that was a pretty easy decision that we made. Wouldn't you agree, Robby?
Yeah, I mean, losing as a 1 seed in the round of 32, I think that's easily the worst loss, and people always cite that all the time in terms of March success for Illinois. So I think it's a little unfair advantage to have Loyola, and like you said, take it how you want it. I encourage people to kind of think of their 5 most painful losses for them, because the beauty of it is everyone's different. People go to games, people watch certain games and don't watch games. So I know we've drafted before and have been like, oh, I was at that game. That one was my favorite, that type of thing. So take it how you want to take it. Once we're done, Isaac will tweet it out, and you can kind of comment your thoughts. But yeah, I'm excited for this. And you've given me the first pick the past couple times, so I'm curious if you're going to take it finally.
I will take it, but I even to this point don't even know totally what I'm gonna do because there's there's so many ways you can take it. So I think it'd be stupid of me to go with a personal one right away. I'm gonna go with one that still haunts me. Oh man, do I go with that one? I think this might do well on the graphic, but I'm gonna go with the 30-0 run against UConn.
Yep.
Again, it's like UConn was obviously the best team in the country, so you can only be so mad. But the 30-0 run was bad, and that has been shown thousands of times on highlights. And obviously, Illinois has played UConn a couple times since then, and it's been brought up 1,000 times. And I even have friends who I don't talk to all the time that were like, holy cow, 30-0 run, with a chance to go to the Final Four. And I think we were 8.5, 9-point underdogs. So crazier things have obviously happened, but just that 30-0 run was pretty crazy. And that game went from competitive, this is going to be super, super hard for us to win, but we were hanging tight. And then, the last few minutes of the first half and the first 8 or 9 minutes or whatever of the second half, and that your season, unfortunately, an amazing, amazing season just came to a very abrupt end.
Yeah. No, that's a good one. I think a lot of people will say that's one of the worst losses. I probably would have taken that one. Not in terms of, you should have beaten UConn. UConn was a better team. UConn should have won that game. They were one of the best teams of all time. I still think all the college basketball I watched, I still think that UConn team is the best team I've ever seen. I think that Villanova 2018 team was pretty good. I know Brunson just won Finals MVP. I think that one was a really good team, but I still think in my eyes, UConn, that team was the best team I've ever seen. They've lost like 2 or 3 games all year and just dominated both tournaments back-to-back years. And as a 1 seed, even in the championship against Purdue, it wasn't even a game. So, I mean, 30-0 was tough. It kind of happened in like a blink of an eye for me too. Just going into halftime, since it included like that first half, it was a little bit different. And Evan Mia now has 30-0 run called the UConn. It's a 10-0 run kill shot, 20-0 Avalanche, and now he calls 30-0 the Husky, I think. So it's a known thing in college basketball. Unfortunately, we got clown. That's probably up there with one of the worst ones.
And real quick before you go, and we'll snake it so you can have 2. I think one of the more painful parts too was that it felt like, okay, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. And it felt like we're going to try to have Coleman Hawkins guard Donovan Clingan one-on-one, which is not Coleman's fault that it's just not going to work. And then we're going to try to have Terrence get Clingan into foul trouble, but Clingan's just so tall and you just was going straight up and it just wasn't working. And it's like, we just kept trying it. And that was also what made it more painful, I think. But go ahead. You got back-to-back picks, Robby.
Yeah, and of course it was an Elite Eight game too, so a chance to go to the Final Four for the first time in forever. Obviously, we got there finally, but yeah, that was a tough pill to swallow. I think my next pick, I'm going to go all the way back to 2019, or my first pick, I should say. The team was not great in 2019. I was a manager, so maybe some personal connection to it. But losing to Florida Atlantic at home, I think, was one of the most painful losses. You're kind of trying to get this program back. Underwood took over in 2018, so it was just his second year. But Kofi was on campus. He ended up committing anyway. But we lost to Florida Atlantic at home. I mean, it's a bye game, December 29th. Brad and staff always do a easy game, and the 29th or the 28th. Since we play Mizzou, then all the students and managers and players, I should say, and staff members go home for Christmas. So you want a pretty easy game in that December 29th game, before you start up conference play. And we lost to FAU. So absolutely terrible. I think FAU finished the season 17-16. Dusty May was the coach then, which is crazy. But, I mean, FAU lost their last 4 games of the season, lost in the first round in the Conference USA tournament. I mean, they were a terrible team. We lost them at home. Still got Kofi afterwards, but that was a painful one.
Yeah, I specifically remember, I think I shared this for some reason last time. I had just got my tonsils out and I was like 21 or 22, which is a terrible idea. You shouldn't do it, but I needed to get them out and they ruptured. So I had to go back and get them like re-put together. And then Illinois literally later that day lost to FAU. And I was like, you've got to be kidding me. Obviously, it was over dramatic, but I was like, this Brad Underwood guy, I'm already pretty nervous about.
Get him out.
We're gonna waste, this freshman Io, and I think Io had a good game, but and I remember Kofi was there too, and obviously back then I was more into the recruiting because of how impactful it is. When your team's terrible, you need to be keeping track of 4- and 5-star recruits. And then just seeing him recruit, I'm like, is this guy nuts, or are we just like paying him a bunch of money or something? Who knows? But that I'll never forget that day. And obviously, if Brad Underwood gets a DVD or something, that would be one of the first clips to be shown.
Yeah. Lost to Eastern Illinois in the exhibition, to losing to FAU, to winning a national championship in 2027. Hopefully that's the championship DVD for us. But I think for my second pick, we go back to painful versus you lose to a bad team type thing. I think it was a really good team against Tennessee at home, the number 1 ranked team in the entire country. I think that loss was super painful just because you had them on the ropes. They're their number 1 ranked team in the country. And Jordan Gainey comes down and has a coast-to-coast game winner at the end of the game when you could have won. The first half, was absolutely terrible basketball. Both teams were shooting terribly. So we really mucked up the game, and Tennessee's offense was horrendous. So, you can say we should have won. Maybe we shouldn't have because they were absolutely terrible on offensively. But I think towards the end of the game, they outscored us by 8. They ended up, obviously, with that game winner. And just that you tasted like a win versus the number 1 team in the country, and you had it in your hands at home. Orange Crush was going to storm the court. People were already lining up. We had free throws towards the end of the game to win. So that one was a tough one. You don't get many opportunities to beat an AP number 1 ranked team in the country. I'm looking at a Champaign Room article from Greg Terry on December 12th, 2024. It looks like this century we're 2-5 against AP top ranked squads, which is actually not too bad. We beat Wake Forest in 2004, and we beat Indiana in 2013, of course. That's 2013 versus Indiana, that game winner by Tyler Griffey is one of the best wins in Illinois history. But that would have been another win against number 1. You had it in your hands, and just the stadium going silent after that was tough.
Yeah, I specifically remember I was watching it where I was and just being like, we're going to do this. We're going to do this. And all we have to do is just get in front of him. And sure enough, we didn't. And he went coast to coast. And it just went from, something about the roller coaster of being like, okay, we're going to win unless the worst possible thing happens. And then the worst possible thing happens. Something about that makes these like so memorable. And that season, last season with, Kasparis and Will, and it was just all over the place. And that was definitely a low. That was almost so close to being a high. So definitely remember that one. And I will probably, it feels like we don't have, maybe with Io, we had a handful of them, I guess. So that's wrong to say, but I don't know if we've had as many coast to coast buzzer beaters as have happened to us. It feels like, but
Yeah. And just like home wins too, like really big home wins.
Yeah.
Like I think Underwood after his interview after the Texas Tech win, I think it was like the first ranked win or first top 15 win at home, like in his history. And he was like, wow, is that accurate? Like I'm a terrible coach. Like he literally said that. And that was another chance to get like a huge home win. And thinking long-term, I'm always thinking about like NCAA tournament seeds. Like if you have a win against Tennessee, another quad one win, like you might be a 5 seed instead of a 6 seed, and you might make the Sweet 16. Hard to say, but though every game like that matters. And walking out of that stadium was so brutal.
Man, I don't know where I'm going to go, but since I got back to back, I'm going to go with whatever. I'm going to let my personal bias get into it. This was the most painful for me. Now, it's easy to say it wasn't as painful looking back at it, on it, but the loss to Michigan State at home the year before COVID ended, or the year that COVID ended the tournament, and Alan Griffin doesn't box out Xavier Tillman, and then Io slips, and you're like, oh my gosh, he just destroyed his knee. Season's over. Life's terrible. We just went from, like a high mountain to like our best player probably just tore his ACL. So I just remember the vibe in the building and the amount of people, including myself, that just sat at State Farm Center for like until they're like basically telling you to get out because of how awful that could have been. And how, again, it was like, okay, unless all things go terribly, you're going to win this game. Nobody boxes out Xavier Tillman for some reason, like not even close. And then Io slips on a wet spot. And you go from maybe not just losing to losing your best player. And for him, personal, like long-term knee injury. We all know how that turned out. Comes back not that long later. You beat Penn State on the road. So this one might not do as well on the graphic, but personally, that was a super painful one for me just because I remember how it went. And I just remember being so high. And then like, oh my God, what I'm like way different, but what I imagine like Bulls fans and Derrick Rose, like every time he got hurt,
Yeah, that was a tough one. I remember that not boxing out, and just so many games against Michigan State. I feel like we've had a couple good wins. I feel like Underwood coaches pretty well against it. So there's so many times where we just could have won the game this year in OT. I think in 2024 it was similar in East Lansing when we blew a lead, and I think we were up like 8 with like 4 or 5 minutes left, and we could have won that game. 2025. Casparis was in foul trouble. There's just so many Michigan State examples, and that one was tough. We definitely feared the worst for Io slipping right by the bench. Being a manager, it was not a good time to have wet spots on the court. Turned out all right, but another Michigan State game that we let slip.
Yeah, we really have had some doozies at Michigan State. Like even Marcus Damask, Terrence Shannon, Justin Harmon and Marcus Damask both had some bad turnovers late a few years ago. And you went from up 8 with like 3 minutes left, and then you ended up losing by like 3 or 4. Maybe you lost in overtime. I can't remember, but a few years ago with Damask and Shannon, you easily should have won, and you just completely fell apart too. I'm gonna go.
You get 2 picks here, or just 1?
Say that again.
You get 2 picks?
Yeah, okay. I'll snake. So we'll do 5 each total. But and again, if you're just tuning in, we're doing Brad Underwood's most painful losses, not counting Loyola. So Robby went FAU loss at home, coast to coast loss to Tennessee. I went the 30-0 run, lost to UConn, and then Io slipping, losing to MSU. My third pick is going to be the loss to Houston in the round of 32. I think because that was before you had made the second weekend with Underwood. And I just remember thinking like most of your tournament games with Brad, you just didn't play very well. And this was just another game where you didn't play very well. And I think Houston was maybe favored by like 1.5 or a point. And they just looked like
points, yeah,
they just looked like the better team. I know you kept it close. And like if that Melendez dunk isn't a technical, who knows? But Houston just definitely looked like the better team the whole game. And even Chattanooga probably should have beat you. So I think just after the loss to Loyola and then seeing that happen the following year where you just really didn't look prepared in the tournament and you had just lost to Indiana in the first round of the Big Ten tournament, I just remember feeling really defeated and like, well, here's another year we're not going to make the second weekend. And big picture, I don't think that's going to end up being that bad of a loss. I mean, Houston's done really well in the tournament, and Kelvin Sampson obviously knows what he's doing in the tournament. But just it was just deflating, I think, just to not be back for another year in the second weekend with a team that definitely had the talent to make a second weekend.
Yeah, for sure. I think playoff losses, especially round of 32, are weighted a little bit more. I think Houston was really, really good. They were the better team, similar to UConn. I think just ending that season was painful. Like, you were the one seed in the Big Ten tournament, lost to Indiana, that might enter this list eventually, but barely beat Chattanooga. Didn't look good against Houston. I think Houston was like the best 5 seed of all time, though, to be honest. Like, they were 29-5. They ended up beating Arizona that year, and I think they were number 2 at KenPom at the end of the season. So, I mean, you definitely weren't supposed to beat Houston. Just like you said, not being able to make the second weekend again was tough for Illinois, and I think big picture, not a huge deal. But yeah, painful loss around at 32, not being able to get to that Sweet 16, and just being matched up against Houston was painful too. Like, they should not be a 5 seed. Of course, Illinois gets matched up against them. We've gotten rewarded the past couple years. It all came around in our favor, but yeah, being matched up with them in general was painful.
Yeah, it really does feel. I know we've said this. It really does feel like the basketball gods have kind of helped us out a little bit after the Loyola in the Houston. And I know back in the day there was some really bad losses or some really bad matchups, but even a couple years ago with Casparis and Will, when you lost to Kentucky, like, that wasn't a terrible matchup. It wasn't like you got
Yeah.
screwed and Kentucky was way, underseeded or something like that. Like, you had a chance to
Mhm.
win that game. And then obviously Duquesne to make the second weekend, and then Iowa to make the Final Four. I would say,
VCU.
yeah, yeah, VCU. I would say things are pretty
We're
pretty
even now.
evened out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's a good one. Is it my pick though, or
Yeah, go for it. Rip 2.
okay? Yeah, I'll rip two. I'll do Penn State in the rec gym
Yep.
in Huff Hall Junior. For people that go to Illinois, Huff
Yeah.
Hall is just like the like old
Wasn't
gym
it the
basically.
Palestra or something? Or something, maybe I don't even know what it was called.
No, Palestra's in Philly. That's where we played Penn
Oh,
State this year.
duh, 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 duh.
But yeah, it was basically their version of the Huff Hall, like 5,000 people, only like students and like rich donors could go to the game. Whiteout, of course, and I mean, it wasn't a real college basketball environment. So credit to Penn State for doing that. They always seem to screw us somehow, some way. But another game where you're just way better than the other team. Um, this was 2024, so I ended up making it to the Elite Eight, and it ended up being all right, but ended up losing to Penn State 90-80. We were winning the whole game. Had a really good end of the second half. I think we were up, and I think we had a huge percentage to win the game. If you're into like win probability, I think it was one of those where they tweet out where it's all the way at the top possible, where Illinois' probability is probably 99.9%. And somehow they lose the game. Just so many turnovers in the backcourt. Coleman did not have a good game in that game. We couldn't break a press. And yeah, what percentage was the high there?
96.5
96.5. Yeah, if I remember correctly,
with
Coleman had a couple
40
turnovers.
seconds left.
Coleman had a foul, like foul when we were up 3 or something, and they had 3 free throws. And yeah, I mean, the momentum just went crazy the other way. Look at those percentages, 96% with 30 seconds to go. So yeah, that was really painful. I think after that loss too, we still hadn't made the second weekend at that point. We were 19-7, 10-5 in the Big Ten. I mean, this team was better than 10-5 in the Big Ten. Ended up 14-6, so it all worked out. But after that loss, there was some question marks with Illinois. Penn State was not good whatsoever. They ended up 16-17, so definitely not a game you should lose. And that was just one of the most absurd losses I've ever seen, honestly, in all of basketball.
Yeah, crazy. I remember like taking a deep breath and being like, well, it wasn't pretty, but you got away. And then everything just started to collapse. And then it's like, you're still not going to lose this game, right? And then sure enough, you did. And Justin Harmon had a shot to win it at the buzzer that just didn't go in. And yeah, super painful, not fun. Something about losing in a gym like that makes it even worse and memorable. But obviously, looking back, worked out, and there was just a few year stretch where Penn State just got the best of. I almost put this on there, but and maybe I don't think it'll pop up. Maybe honorable mention when Sky Clark was still on the team and Penn State just came in and punked us. but that whole season was kind of from hell. But there was just a few year stretch where nothing went right against Penn State.
Yeah, they owned us for sure, and it's not like it's like Michigan State or Purdue. It's Penn State we're talking about, which makes it even worse. Unfortunately, that year before they I think beat us 3 times. They beat us in the Big Ten tournament. They beat us at home, and we lost there. I remember I think we were the 7th seed in the Big Ten, and they were the 10. They ended up being really good that year, but yeah, being owned by Penn State was not great. And speaking of like buzzer beaters, too, you mentioned Hartman had a shot to win it. I like can't remember any buzzer beaters that we've had recently. Like I know Io had that Michigan State one with the
Yeah.
clock expiring, but I'm trying to think because I remember in that UCLA game this year, like Wagler had a shot, Michigan State, Wagler had a shot. I feel like we don't make buzzer beaters now that I think about it.
Yeah, since IO, man, I'll have to think. Maybe somebody in the chat or somebody that
Yeah.
ends up watching this will comment, let us know. I'm sure we'll think of one maybe after, but yeah, we really don't. I feel like now that
Yeah.
you say that.
Yeah. Well, with my next pick, December 22nd, 2022, like I said, these bragging rights games, I've been on that date for a while. I was at this game, of course. I think that loss, we got blown out 93-71. And you go to bragging rights, it's half Mizzou, half Illinois. It's a rowdy crowd. You really want a good game. I'm cool with an Illinois absolute beatdown, of course, but I remember the game started 20-5 Mizzou, and it was depleting. Illinois fans left that arena pretty quickly. They were never in the game. I think Mizzou, trying to do quick math here, we scored 27 points in the first half, I believe, and Mizzou had like 50 something. So, I mean, we were down a half big. Kobe Brown, who was a great player for Mizzou, he had 33 points. We just could not stop him whatsoever. And I mean, we had zero shot in that game. And as you know, beating Mizzou is important. Even Whitman and Underwood understand that. I saw Underwood has a bonus now if he beats Mizzou. So that shows the importance of beating them in St. Louis. And that game was so brutal. Never in the game, down 20-5 to start, and yeah, that was one of the most painful losses.
Yeah, I specifically remember again that was just a bad game. You knew you were getting blown out from the start, and it's never fun to get blown out by Mizzou. I know we've blown them out a handful of times, it feels like, but that was really bad, and it really just those games are so interesting because I feel like there's been years where Illinois wasn't good and Mizzou was good, and we would beat them or keep it close, and then vice versa, So, and then this year was maybe the most lopsided one of them all, and that was definitely really painful. Definitely a lot of question marks, and again, a team that should not have been blown out like that.
Yeah, no, it doesn't really make sense. That's how rivalries go. Even if you're bad, sometimes you win, and vice versa. Mizzou was pretty good that year, and I think this is the first year where it's like the past couple years, I guess it's like, okay, Illinois is a lot better than the other team. I think 2024 and last year it was pretty known that Illinois was going to blow them out, but there's been years where even when I was a manager in 2021, I thought we were going to absolutely blow out Mizzou, and we got blown out, and that was not fun either. So my first two experiences at I guess it was 2 out of 3 were not great, but we've turned it around in that series.
Yeah, let's see, man. There's so many good ones left. I'm trying to think. So I'll do my last two. I'm gonna go the coast to coast loss versus UCLA. I think because you had just looked so good at USC, and it was like there's no excuses. Everybody's healthy. You were definitely the better team. You were up so big, like you were up 21 or 22, like early in the
messing around.
Yeah, you just started chucking threes and doing all this stupid stuff. Kind of felt similar to what the Spurs did in the NBA Finals, and it was like, okay, we're not going to lose this game though, right? We've punched back, we keep them at arm's length. Okay, we've survived. We go into overtime. All you have to do is not just get Donovan Dent off of his path like just barely, and they're not going to win. And then sure enough, you do. And I think it was just this might be a little recency bias, but I think it was a culmination of like, okay, the coast to coast lost to Tennessee just because of how it happened. But it was like, okay, that's a quad 1A place that nobody else has won besides I think Indiana had won earlier in the year. And you had no business losing. It felt like the first game or one of the first games that this past season where you lost and you had no excuse, right? Like nobody was hurt, nothing crazy happened. And I think it was just, again, it was like you're getting so close to March, you're getting so close to the tournament, you're not playing your best basketball. And you literally just had to stand in the guy's way. And it felt like whether that was a miscommunication from coaching or just players not being wise, there was just a lot of frustration all around.
Yeah, no doubt. That was the first loss in a while, like you mentioned, where you were really concerned. Like we were 9-3, and then we won 11 straight games. Then okay, you go to Michigan State shorthanded, you lose in overtime. You should have beat Wisconsin, but you're shorthanded. You know, both Kylan and Andre, so it's whatever. So then you kind of get back on track with Indiana USC, and it's like, okay, we're finally back. You know, no excuses anymore. We could be a 1 seed. You know, it's another quad 1 win at UCLA before Michigan, and you know, you blow a lead. You should have beat UCLA. There's no excuse to lose to that team. And yeah, that was a painful one. I was honestly one of like the most stressful games I've ever watched as an Illinois fan. Like, I think there's a difference between like being like, okay, I'm a little nervous. There's, you know, this loss is painful. Like that game was just like stressful for some reason. Like they started messing around in the first half because we were up by so much. It just felt like we needed that win so badly for vibes and just going into Michigan and keeping our Big Ten championship hopes alive. Of course, we lost and it worked out just fine, but that was just like a stressful game to watch.
Yeah, and the defense was just horrid. Like so bad. There was just so, and again, like you were saying, just concerns, like so many concerns with going into the tournament and getting close to the tournament. And like Big Z just like go up and down. Like he just came up too far. There was just so many painful things. I'm really struggling. I was trying to just look quick while you were talking. I'm really struggling because there's so many that, again, it's like, how do you take this? For pain wise, for me, let's see. I'm gonna go in a similar vein, I think. I'll do the Wisconsin Big Ten tournament loss this year. I think, again, just from like concern level, and it was like we just watched this movie like a month ago and now we're fully healthy, so it shouldn't be a problem. And I know Wisconsin was on a crazy heater to end the season, but it's like, how do you not have anybody step up and stop John Blackwell or stop name's blanking.
Nick Boyd.
Boyd. How do you not Boyd and Blackwell? That's right. How do you just let them both continue to go off and go off? And you were the better team and you just had no business losing that game. Again, concern level. This was obviously before knowing we were going to the Final Four. It's like, you're not playing well at all. I could see you losing to anybody, maybe not getting, upset by the 14 or whatever, but really after that loss, I was not feeling good about this team whatsoever. I remember making a video and talking, like, I think anybody would be lying if they said they felt great about this team after that game. And Wisconsin obviously was on a crazy run, but again, over and over again, like Boyd and Blackwell went for like 80, not 80 combined, but it was something crazy like that. And they did the same thing against you earlier that season. So I think too, the earlier loss to Wisconsin at home, I just wrote off as Kylan was hurt, I think, or maybe Kylan and Andre.
Yeah, Kylan and Andre were out. I mean, we were up and we should have won, but it's not their loss where it's like, okay, shorthanded.
Right. So then it was like, well, crap, maybe Kylan and Andre don't make as big a difference as I thought. And then I started to question, the loss at Michigan State. I'm like, well, maybe Kylan didn't make as big a difference and all those things. So I think just panic mode. And again, hindsight's 2020. Looking back at it now, you're like, well, they made a Final Four. You should chill out. But just in the moment and how you just continue to watch Boyd and Blackwell go off, it was just so infuriating.
Yeah, it's similar to like UConn game. I mean, I know I have the last pick. I'm not going to pick UConn for that one, but I thought about it just because it's like similar with Wisconsin. It's like they did the same exact thing they did to you like a month before, and you just let it happen again. And it's not even like a scheme or a coaching type thing. It's like, those two guys are going to just go at you the whole game. Like, you got to have some pride and sit down and play some defense. Easier said than done, especially with Kyle and Andre out. But it's like, I mean, I'll have 7 fouls before I let a guy have 40 on me. It's like, do something. Like, you can't just let them have 40 on you, both of them in the second game in a month. It's like, okay. So that was tough. I know a lot of people were in panic mode, and I wanted to win one game in that Big Ten tournament just for vibes. But yeah, that was a painful one just because, again, it was Wisconsin. You think about, you lost to them again before, and just think about Illinois in general. You lost to them in football too. It's like, all right, we got to stop losing to Wisconsin in these games. So
yeah, I forgot about the football loss too. That didn't help.
Yeah, similar to the UConn game too. Like, I thought about doing that for my last pick. It's like, there's a lot of chatter about how. So I'll say this UConn game is honorable mention. I'm not going to put that one, but just to speak on that first, since it kind of ties to Wisconsin, like doing the same thing. It's like there's a lot of chatter about Illinois, UConn in the Final Four. Illinois has gotten better. Illinois is playing through Keaton Wagler now. Illinois should win in their third matchup in the past 2 years. But UConn just did the same thing. It looked exactly like the first game.
Did we lose Robby?
They did the same thing. That
I think we lost me too. One sec. Hey, can you hear me? Can you hear me? I can't hear Robby. I might have lost him. Let's see. I think he just left. He's going to come back. But the UConn losses he was talking about, very frustrating because it was super similar to the Wisconsin losses and a handful of other losses under Brad Underwood, where it just felt like you were trying the same thing over and over again and just not getting different results. And it was insanely frustrating. We'll see if we can get Robby back here. Robby's got a lot of good ones to pick from, and we'd love to hear, what did we miss? What have we left off? We're going to go through some honorable mentions, but I tweeted this the other day. The good thing, the reason that we have so many painful losses really is because we've been so good now for a long time and been on the big stage for such a long time that you have opportunities to have frustrating losses and losses that come when you're competing for a Big Ten title or competing for tournament seeding and things like that. So, yeah, there is a lot of pain that comes with being high on the totem pole. Let's see if we can get Robby back on here. Probably have to cut this. All right, we got him. I think we got him back. He's back. So, Robby.
All right, sorry about that. I don't know.
You're good. You were just talking about, we need to get your last pick. You were talking about UConn and how the losses, all that fun stuff.
My last pick's going to be getting blown out by Duke at the Garden.
Yeah.
I thought about the UConn one. I thought about Maryland beating us down a bunch of times. I thought about the Cincinnati one, but I landed on this Duke one. Of course, Duke was amazing. We were underdogs in the game, but just how highly anticipated the game was. Duke, Cooper Flag, Concanipple, versus us at the Garden. There was a lot of Duke fans, honestly, but we just never really had a chance. Lost 110-67, and I never really thought our team had a chance to like make a run. I know people are always like, "Oh, we're a sneaky Final Four team in 2025 because we have 2 first-round picks," but I think that game just really validated that this team probably was not going to go to a Final Four or even the Elite Eight. So that was a tough one, and just seeing all the Illinois fans in New York who traveled out there and saw so many people there that live in Illinois and Chicago that went out for the game, and it really was never a game whatsoever, and got embarrassed by Duke, and now Duke plays their neutral site games against Michigan instead of us, unfortunately.
Yeah, that was bad. It was really bad. I remember it was really like we were playing a different sport. It was like a minor league team against a professional team for a while there. And I think the most frustrating part was that I don't know if it was like we gave up, but it felt like there was no grit there. There was no pride. And I know Duke was amazing and they had Cooper Flag, who just had an amazing rookie season in the NBA. But again, it was really like you saw your freshman flaws, and there was a thought in the back of the mind like, oh, this team might lose out and miss the tournament. Now, I think that was probably impossible, but Illinois fans were kind of trying to tell themselves that at times, the really negative ones. So that was, and again, there was a lot of people, again, friends I have that I don't talk to all the time, that of course they watched that game. And that was the one Illinois game they watched all year. And that's what made it so painful. And I definitely considered taking it with my last few picks. So I think that's a good pick.
Yeah, tough to choose the last ones. We got a few honorable mention ones too, but I think we got a pretty good list right now. Like we said, painful can go a couple different ways, but I think it's a pretty good list we got.
So again, we didn't include Loyola. That would have obviously been the first overall pick. I took the 30-0 run loss to UConn, lost to Michigan State at home when Io slipped, lost to Houston in the round of 32, the coast to coast loss to UCLA this past year, and then the Big Ten tournament loss to Wisconsin this past year. Robby went with the getting upset by FAU at home, the coast to coast loss to number one Tennessee, Penn State lost in their recreation gym with like 5,000 people, getting blown out by Mizzou and bragging rights in 22, and then blown out by Duke at Madison Square Garden. What's the first, do you have any on the honorable mention that were about to be your last pick?
Yeah, I have a couple. I think both the Maryland losses in
Yep.
2025. I went to the home game, Thursday night game, absolutely got blown out. I left with 10 minutes left to get home and drive 2 hours back. That one was tough. Also, the Maryland in the Big Ten tournament, never really had a chance. I really wanted to take this Cincinnati one. I just don't think people would probably even like remember that game much. I mean, we were like number 4 at KenPom preseason that year, and we were playing in the KC Hall of Fame series in Kansas City. I mean, and we got blown out by 20 to Cincinnati, and I don't think they made the tournament that year. And we ended up winning the Big Ten, of course. But I mean, that was really when I think Underwood was like, all right, I'm done with these MTEs, like, because that was after Maui, and that was in 2022 or 2021, 2022. So I think after that KC game, the back-to-back games, he was like, all right, I'm done with these. We lost by 20 to a terrible team. I think that game kind of goes unnoticed. I would honestly say that's probably my sixth man if I had to choose one.
That's definitely up there. I remember watching it, and that was right after the Marquette loss, I want to say, where Andre Curbelo had like 55 turnovers, and you should have won that game, but he just kept turning the ball over. And the
Yep.
Cincinnati one was really bad.
The game
Yeah,
after. Yep.
yeah, I just remember again, Curbelo didn't play well. You ended up losing by 20, and they were clearly not that good. That's similar. There were a few games that year where it's like, and it is crazy to I think that was maybe Underwood's best coaching year, because that team definitely had flaws. Granted, you had a first team All American, like the best big man in Illinois history, probably, but that team had flaws. So to win the Big Ten definitely says a lot, I think, about the coaching and putting that staff together. Um, I had, let's see, Nebraska at home this year was frustrating because it was a buzzer beater, and you probably should have won that game. But again, it was like you had guys hurt. Deep cut one, if you remember this one, at Notre again, the game didn't really matter because you weren't good. At Notre Dame, Trent Frazier's half court shot that I don't know how it didn't go in. It was in the hoop halfway down.
Yep, I remember that one. I was there. I was actually a manager, but didn't travel with the team, but decided
Got
to
it.
go and be a fan there anyway. That wasn't a great college basketball environment. Both
No, there
teams
was like
were
100
not
people
very
there, wasn't
good.
there?
Yeah,
um, let's see. I'll say one more and then any more you got. But one that I totally forgot about was, and I was there, was the loss to Miami in
mhm.
the Big Ten ACC Challenge because you were down like 26 or 25 and came all the way back and then had a chance to take the lead. And Io gets a charge call on that short guard that was really good
Yeah. What was his name? I
for
can't remember.
Miami.
It'll come to
But
me in a second. Uh,
yeah,
Chris Likes, I think.
Chris likes. Yep, there you go. But I think that was just more painful because it's like I remember the first half being like, why did I drop? I'm granted it was like an hour, but this is terrible. We suck. I thought this was going to be the team to be better. Miami's not even that good. And then you came all the way back and it was like, dang, we're going to do this. And then sure enough, you didn't. They had a white dude that was like a European dude that couldn't miss from three either.
Yeah, that
Um,
one sucked. That's an underrated one. I do think about that one a lot. I was manager then. I actually had the flu, so I had to watch from home. I wasn't behind the
I got
bench,
it.
but I was like in the hospital the night before, which was terrible. But that one sucked, and that was a quad three loss at home, ACC Big Ten uh, challenge. So yeah, that's a good poll for sure. I do think about that one a lot.
Dejan Vasiljevic went 6 for 9 from three. Yeah, Chris Likes, good pull there. They had some. Oh, that was Isaiah Wong was on that team. Let's see a couple more that I had, and I think you mentioned this. Indiana in the first round of the Big Ten tournament a few years ago, you had no business losing that game.
Yep.
This one was painful, but in a different way. I think it might have been that the Big Ten title team where you were losing to Ohio State by like 20 something, and then Brad Underwood gets ejected, and you come all the way
Mhm.
back, and
Yeah, that was a good one.
Trent Frazier goes up. I thought EJ Liddell maybe fouled him, but they didn't call it, and then he turns it over. And another, I'm just like reliving all these. Arizona that same year, Arizona was really good, so it's like hard to say it was that painful, but you had a chance to beat Arizona. You have the ball left, I think, to tie or take the lead, and Alfonso Plummer gets a 5-second call because he's not dribbling, and that's how you lose. That was a really bad one.
Speaking of Ohio State too, we've talked about it before, but just the United Center game where there's nobody there and you lost, I think that was like
Yep.
a terrible game. It was like I don't know why they played Ohio State on a Wednesday night, but we went to
Mhm.
2-7 after that, and then we like eliminated the United Center game for years after that. That was a tough environment and tough loss for sure.
Dang, my brain's just firing. The Purdue loss at home in double overtime a few years ago on Martin Luther King Day, I believe. And
Yeah,
it was like I think it was you really needed to beat Purdue to stay like in the Big Ten race. And or no, that you were in the Big Ten race. Maybe it was just like it was you and Purdue. Duh, yeah, because you ended up getting a share. It was you and Purdue in Wisconsin, I think, at the top. And Purdue had just been punking you. You hadn't beat him in a while. And Zach Edey had been getting the best of Kofi. And then sure enough, that's what happened again. And Curbelo hit a shot to send it to overtime, I think, or
could have
second overtime.
had an outright title.
Yeah, you would have had an outright title. I don't know. You got any other ones?
Um, that's pretty much it. I mean, you can always say any NCAA tournament loss, I guess, like
Yeah.
Kentucky loss, but I mean, I don't really see that as very painful. All the Penn State ones we mentioned, had a couple Purdue ones. I don't know. I think that's all I got. I mean, there was a there's a couple when I was a manager. I think the one at Maryland in 2020 was tough. With the Anthony Cowan like a
Yep.
million footer
Like
and
the 30-foot shot or
yeah,
whatever.
the Feliz foul. We lost by one on a Saturday night in Maryland, but I mean, not probably shouldn't be on the list or I don't know mentioned, but that's the only other one that comes to mind really.
No, that was the last one I was going to mention. I had a buddy text me that one, and yeah, I was saying this while when you got kicked off, but you have so many painful losses because you're in such a big spot since Underwood's been here, where when you lose games, it is frustrating because you're like, crap, that might hurt our Big Ten title chance, or crap, that might hurt our tournament seed. Whereas before Underwood, it was like, oh, that hurts our bubble chance. You know what I mean? So,
We could have used a 76 team tournament back then.
yeah, 100%. Yeah, John Gross could have definitely use that. Well, this has been fun. It's fun to relive, and even though these have been painful, now to see like, oh wait, we've made a Final Four and Underwood's done a lot of winning, it's a lot more fun to relive these losses.
Yeah, and you're in all the easy games, so it's like the painful losses versus Tennessee #1, painful Final Four loss, all that. It's like these all come from big games usually. So that's it's good to know, and I'm glad we don't have to talk about Loyola because I'm done talking about it. So we'll save that for another episode.
Yeah, I think we would have just done one draft, and then or somebody would have got the first pick, and we just wouldn't have even had to draft. So
Yeah.
I think it'll be funny on the graphic too to be like worst Underwood losses besides Loyola.
Or just don't even put it, and people will freak
Yeah,
out.
people that probably would be great for engagement actually, but cool. Well, Robby, thanks for doing this. This was super fun. We'll have to come up with some more ideas for the next few weeks. I think football is 11 weeks from today or something like that. So, or 11 weeks from tomorrow. So we still got 10 or 11 weeks to fill with off-season content. So what do you got coming up? What do you got working? What are you working on?
Yeah, more of the same. Newsletter for Armchair Illini every Monday. Need to hop on a pod with Alex. Haven't done one in a while. And then doing some pieces for the Champaign room. I do have like a schedule tracker that I update with the kind of new schedule news. If you want to check that out, if you're curious about kind of all the games and when they are. But yeah, more of the same for me. More soccer watch since there's no hoops on, but. Knicks won the NBA Finals, which was crazy. No more hoops, so I'll be watching soccer and baseball, unfortunately, moving forward, and looking forward to some more hoops coming here in July.
Yeah, without the World Cup, it would be really dull right now because it felt like the finals and the Stanley Cup, which I don't normally watch, but the Stanley Cup was really good. They both just ended like abruptly, and now thankfully we got the World Cup. US Opens this weekend, so yeah. But yeah, definitely make sure to check out Robby's stuff. He's all over the place. Champagne room, armchair, all that fun stuff, and check out Alex's stuff. He does a great job too. We're gonna have a lot of awesome content coming to the Champagne room. Thanks to Brian Hansen. Remember, Brian is my guy for your State Farm needs, your insurance needs. I'm Alina Isaac. That's Robby Nardini. This has been, unfortunately, the most painful Brad Underwood losses draft, but we had a good time, and we'll definitely be back here soon. So ILL, thanks for watching.
I know.